I'm John Ruggiero, and welcome to this episode of New Jersey Paranormal. Joining me, as always, is my teammate Chris, and our special guest is Bob Christopher. Bob, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Bob has not only been a paranormal investigator for many, many, many years, Bob also has been on a TV show, Ghost Detectives. He runs a company called co-owner of Ghostly Excursions, which they have paranormal events at different haunted locations, probably around the East Coast and beyond. And Bob also is a creator of paranormal equipment, which is the theme of the show today. It's one thing to be an investigator, someone who's been doing this for a while, but what we see a lot in the field is what, Bob? You see these people with the equipment and
they don't know how to use it.
Right.
They don't know what it does. They don't know what it measures.
Right. So they buy something and they watch a TV show and they go, "Ooh, blinking lights. This must mean there's a demon next to me or a spirit next to me," and they don't take the time to research anything. So again, you as someone who builds this stuff, for me, it's always been, I don't have just the blind belief that spirits were created from a higher being and, he made us, then when we die, there's angels and spirits. I needed something that I could wrap my brain around. So I started doing research on my own, and really what it came down to was energy. Einstein proved energy cannot be created or destroyed, merely transformed, and we are biochemical electrical beings. So that is sort of the basis of everything, right? I mean,
sure. We have all different kind of equipment that measures different types of energy.
Right, along with temperature.
Right.
Along with, depth.
EMF and
right.
Electromagnetic fields.
Right.
And
so that really is going to be the basis of this show here, is to explain to the people out there what they're using on the TV shows, why they're using it,
and what we're measuring,
and why we as paranormal investigators are using this equipment. So let's start with the REM pod right there.
Sure.
So you made this.
Yes, I did. This is one of mine.
Okay, what is, again, the foundation of a REM pod? Why would someone use?
It measures energy. It's basically, in layman's terms, I would say it's a proximity alarm.
Okay.
If anything, it creates a bubble of energy around us, and if anything breaks that field, any kind of energy, it will light up lights. So basically, instead of a data logger or anything like that, this actually lights up to show that there's energy there. Energy, not necessarily a ghost.
Turn that on, or?
No, I can turn it on.
See, what we use that for, and again, you can see he's getting close to the antenna.
He's breaking the field.
Breaking the proximity.
Exactly.
So what we use that for, excuse me, there's different models. And one that we will have that alarm, also a music alarm, and I think
right.
yours does as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we use those. A spirit isn't going to know what that is, let's face it, especially if it's from the 1800s.
Exactly.
So
you have to tell them to go to the silver rod.
Yeah,
you can't say antenna because they really don't know what an antenna is. So.
Or I can make music just by doing this.
Right.
And so could you, especially for a child spirit, that may be something that draws them to
Right.
I actually get more responses with the musical than just the...
So do I.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there seems to be something, maybe it relates to the music more than
exactly.
pleasant.
So yeah, and it is about making it relatable to the spirits, which we have that object here. Let me get another one of your masterpieces here. This here is what's called a trigger object.
Trigger pop dot.
Right. And now explain to me the difference between that and this here.
It's basically the same thing as far as the internal stuff.
Right.
Okay, it has more sensors in it. I actually came up with this idea in Gettysburg. We were at Devil's Den one time, and usually I'll go out in the field, and I won't wear any kind of ghost hunting stuff or anything. I just want to go out and go by myself, and you know what I mean? I don't want to be bothered.
Right.
So I always hook up with somebody, like a novice or somebody like that. So I try to teach them secretly, back and forth. But this guy had the gauntlet. I mean, he had a knapsack filled with stuff coming, antennas all over the place, and I mean, he had everything. He had more than I did. Okay. He had a lot of stuff. So we were at Devil's Den, and we're in those little rock cutouts there, and we're asking all these EVP questions about the Civil War and, you know, what happened and how's the battle going and all this other stuff. And this guy whips out this teddy bear, it's called a Boo Bear, and sticks it up on the rock. Yeah. And I just looked at it, and he's asking this Civil War soldier to come and touch this Boo Bear. And I just looked at him, I said, dude, this is definitely not going to work. You aren't going to get this guy who's in the trenches for 3 days to come and touch your Boo Bear. You know what I mean? So as I was driving home, it's like a 3-hour drive home, I started thinking to myself about how I can incorporate something. And, you know, obviously a dog is, you know, for people.
Forever.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows what a dog is.
In that moment, you thought, let me come up with something that's relatable to the situation and what something is normally.
Exactly. That's how I came up with the trigger prop dogs and the cats.
And that dog, turn it on, it works the same way.
It's basically the same thing, but it just has a lot more sensors in it.
And you can see the lights on there. If anything were to touch it, which again, most people would try to pet it.
Exactly.
Pick it up, especially
exactly. The first thing they go for is the head, you know what I mean?
And I've seen you've got different breeds, so that, you know, if you want a Labrador or whatever, you have all the different things for whatever would connect with something.
Right,
cats
exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
There's a cat over there as
There's
well.
cats. We do all kind of animals actually now.
But that's the thing about it too, is you can't rely on the fact that a spirit would know what anything is. You watch the TV shows, and they have these things in their hand, and they have things on a table, and not explaining that to the spirit.
Exactly.
Saying, if you were to come near it, if you were to touch my hand, this is what it's going to do. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to help in the communication between the two, because for me, I'm not sensitive. I'm not psychic. I'm not a medium. I can't see. I can't hear spirits.
Right.
But this equipment is really based on helping us to try to use those theories in communicating with spirits.
So basically, when it goes off and it just goes off, it doesn't mean that there's a spirit there. It just means, okay, let's see.
Something broke the field.
Yeah.
Now let's see if we can work with it.
Right. If you can get something to, you know, make it go off on command, that's great. But you also have to be careful, because, you know, what if a spirit was terrified of dogs or terrified of cats? Exactly. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into. So you know what I mean. You got to pick your times. And even with these, you know, I've seen people go into these and turn them on, and the lights would go off, and then it wouldn't go off the rest of the night. And maybe they think, you know, like a person from the 1800s, like it's a fire or something that's going to burn them or something like that. So you have to actually explain to the spirit too, you know, as you're going, that, hey, this won't harm you. Here it is. You know what I mean? And show them. So you get a lot more results that way.
The method of communication.
Right.
Sometimes, like you said, the whole entire night may revolve around the spirit's comfortability with that object. I'll answer yes by holding on to it.
Right.
I'll answer no by holding on to it, whereas they won't interact with anything else. So EVP-wise, I mean, sometimes you get all EVPs. It is about just trying to relate to the spirits on any level using all of these different objects that are based on the theory of energy for the most part.
Correct.
The other one I want to touch on is the what is that object? The orange object again.
This is the HTO. It's called Haunted Triggered Object Detector.
What I like about that object is you were demonstrating it to me before the show, and that could basically turn anything into a trigger object.
Exactly. It's universal, which makes it fantastic if you're going into a place like, you know, up in Salem. What's the name of that house up there with the axe? Lizzie Borden house. Yeah. I've had it hooked up to the axe already. This has been on all kind of TV shows. They've taken it down Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. They've had it hooked up to bone saws, and it's going off. I personally, you know, go to Gettysburg a lot, so I like the two belt buckles, the Civil War or Union and Confederate. So I know exactly what side I'm talking to, and I know how to relate then. You know, if I'm talking to a Union soldier, I talk Union kind of stuff. If I talk to a Southern soldier, I'll start talking the Southern style, you know, music, stuff like that. But
what's important about that is that I really like, and again, that's something the people that do this all the time, like we do, is the fact that you can take the relatable objects, like you said, in the environment now, instead of trying to make them touch that new thing that makes weird. You could take, like you said, a hat. You could take a piece of shirt, and you could actually put it on, hook it up to that, and say, "Come pick up your shirt," or like you said, a bottle of liquor, bottle of alcohol. Put it right there. Put the alert on there, and if they go to grab it, it's going to light up like you.
Something they feel comfortable with.
So that, I think, again, is one of the ones that you and I talked about me ordering one of those right after the show. So I'm going to get one of those. Let's go to the dome.
The dome.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The dome.
Now that's a little different than the others. Why is that different than, let's say, the REM pod?
Well, this measures static. Okay. Now this, all these things that I build, I either get ideas from people or I have my own personal experiences. Okay. So this in particular model, I was in a place and the hair on the back of my neck is standing up and the hair on my arm. So I started putting two and two together. And right now, I think that spirits throw a static charge either before, during, or after a paranormal event. I haven't pinned that down exactly yet, but I'm getting close. It seems like it's more during than after and before. But so I made this device to actually measure that, and then
the static charge, does that have anything to do with manifestation or just their presence or
pulling from the atmosphere itself?
It could be. It could be. To me, it seems like they throw a static charge.
Okay.
That's why the hair on your back of your neck stands up, or the hair on your arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we had that, again, specifically the one piece of equipment during our last investigation that kept going off was our two static detectors, as if it was only passing by a certain section, because we put them maybe 10 feet apart, and it was as if the spirit was only comfortable staying away from us, going by, and we did use a static detector to detect.
And I wish we had that. We went to an inn that was haunted, and unfortunately for me, I had the third floor by myself, and where I was sitting by a radiator, where it was heat, all of a sudden got brutally cold, and it just stood right up, and I wish I had something that could have shown that.
And this is a catch-all for that. Like you said, it's one thing to show that on your to feel that on your neck, but to see
it go off.
Yeah, example of that you can catch on film or show people that, hey, not only is this happening, but look, this object is detecting the static that I'm feeling, which again,
it's a visual of what's happening to you physically.
Right, and it's directional too. It'll tell you actually which way it's going.
So it'll light off whatever it's coming from.
Exactly. We like putting them down steps or down a hallway, and you know what I mean, to say, hey, come on down to the room down here, and then getting them each one to go off coming down.
So you're like following it coming.
Exactly.
This one here is it's called the Ovilus, and this is the Ovilus 5, I believe. This is one that they use on shows like Ghost Adventure. Now, I do. You're giving me this side, but I like this piece of equipment because you get a lot of false positives. You'll get a lot of words that you may try to matrix. You may try to squeeze into what's going on around you. If you're sitting here, for example, and it says shoe, we're all wearing shoes. I don't really do that with this. I make sure it's relatable to what we're asking and what's going on. And I say the example all the time. I was a real skeptic about this and about using it. There are 2,000 words programmed in here, and in theory, the spirit could pick the word that it wants to say. We were in a building in Union where the Reverend James Caldwell lived with his wife Hannah, and she was shot and killed there. He died a year later. We weren't in there 10 minutes when this thing said Reverend and Jim.
Wow.
The Reverend twice, Jim one time. So I saw the smile on your face, which I'm guessing you don't feel like you've gotten.
I've had some bad experiences with them, and I've had some good experiences with them. Being a guy who builds this kind of stuff, I know what's in it. Right. So, I don't put a lot of credibility in it, but that's not to say that something won't happen, because I did have something happen with that. Right. And I actually have the first one that they built. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. I have one of 25 that were. Yeah, actually. And I did a show for the Animal Planet and we were in a gangster bar, and they wanted me to do some provoking, which I never do any provoking, but it was a flat night, and so I decided to do a little provoking, and that thing actually shocked me.
Really?
Yeah, I dropped the camera and everything. I took off out of there. I said, no more. That's it. I'm not doing no more provoking.
So I've gotten a lot of responses. It said my name. We were in a building where there were haunted objects around us, and of course I grab all the objects. I don't care if it's a voodoo doll, Ouija board, whatever. And I had a cold attachment onto my arm. Never felt anything like that before. Right after this thing said, Johnny.
Wow.
I mean, it was like
Yeah,
the most bizarre moment. But I do like the obelisk.
The thing with that is, okay, you go on your phone, okay? I'm just trying to...
Right.
Yeah.
You go on your phone, and you go on a page, and then all of a sudden on your Facebook page, you see all this stuff related to that. So you could put that technology into a place, a GPS place, you know what I mean, like a GPS thing, like you're up in Salem, and all of a sudden it's going to say witch. You know what I mean? So.
No, I get what you're saying. That's a good point, actually,
Yeah.
because
Programmed.
and
Exactly.
again, with all the new equipment, especially with the app-based programs that people are using, they can be modified
Right.
and programmed in such a
Exactly.
way that they're only saying words like devil,
Demon, yeah,
evil,
exactly.
Haunted.
So basically, use common sense.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
don't
I mean,
just
some
rely-
things happen that you just can't explain.
Don't just
You know what I
rely on
mean?
that
I mean, the
one piece.
odds of it happening are like hitting the lottery.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Aren't these basically supposed to be an additional to personal experience?
Of course.
Right.
But
And
you
this
just
is to
don't rely
validate those permits.
on one piece
Yeah.
of, like a K2 meter. This is a good segue. This wasn't designed for ghosts.
No.
This was designed to measure EMF.
Electrical.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's designed to find a wire in the wall.
Right. So
That's all it was.
So I'll turn this on here, and this is the one that the ghost hunters made famous.
Right.
They would be walking around buildings. This thing would light up like a rainbow when, in theory, a spirit was near it. This has about, I think, a 4 feet radius, maybe.
Yeah,
4 to
about that.
6.
But then it falls back into the static charge thing. You
Right.
know what I mean? They're
So
throwing out
something
some
would
kind
have
of
to be
electrical.
Pretty close, though, to make this thing surge.
Yep.
Or you would need to be close to something that had that kind of energy, like a TV,
Right.
microwave, wires in
Right.
the wall.
There's natural EMF too in the earth.
Right,
You know.
exactly.
So
But this is supposed to be the ambient EMF right here, the green dot. But again, ghost hunters made this famous. People were buying these left and right. And,
Still are.
Right,
Yeah.
and when we do events and we explain how this works, people will walk next to a power box and think that the devil himself is next to them.
Right.
So this, again, is an old piece of equipment. Can measure energy. It's not a
Sure.
bad piece of equipment.
It's an
Sure.
addition to.
Exactly.
how do you explain putting it down and nothing is going off, and then all of a sudden you're asking questions and you say light up those lights and they
Or if
light
you're in a
up?
building with no power at all.
Exactly.
And you're getting power from somewhere. That spirit is manifesting in front of you and interacting. We do a lot of the times where, come near it. Okay, now back away. Now come near it again.
Exactly.
We've got so many responses.
But see,
with
but that's
this.
a perfect point of educating people is that you have to do a baseline reading before you go into any kind of investigation.
Yep.
So again, I like the older stuff and I like the newer stuff, even when it comes to not using the equipment per se. We use a lot of other methods that people have used before all of what you see here. This one here was actually one that you recommended to me. And I like this one a lot.
I do like that. I do.
Because, again, one of the theories with spirits is that when they're manifesting, they're taking the energy, and it does create that cold spot, or when they're coming near you. And this one here, I don't know if I'll be able to demonstrate it the right way. It sets the ambient temperature. Room temperature right now is set.
Right.
So you're not going to be, do it on top. So when something approaches it that has a heat signature, it's going to show the red. It's going to set itself again. And when something approaches it that's cold, the blue.
Right.
And I love using this on investigations when I'm by myself. Like you, I like to wander around by myself sometimes, get the feel, the vibe for the room, get to the temperature, hear what there is to hear, and then put something like this down in front of me and say, okay, if you're here and you want to approach me, come touch my hand, come near me, and something like this will track that cold coming right
So
up.
Right.
basically, in layman's term, the atmosphere around you is changing, and
Right.
that is
Exactly.
monitoring it.
Yep.
So
I've actually followed things around a building
telling
with
me
it.
that.
Yeah, I mean, just follow right around with it. Go to room
find
to
where
room
it
to
is.
room. Just a cold spot going
Yeah.
from traveling all over the place.
and that's a good way to do it, because when you do find it, then you bring out the EVP recorders.
Exactly.
the
How do you
other objects
how do you
to find-
explain a cold spot going from room to
Exactly.
room to room? You know.
Yeah, so I like this one, and again, you recommended this one to me, and I really enjoy using it. We'll take one of your newer pieces of equipment here. I'll let you open it from the case and tell me what it is and how it works.
If I can open it. Got it.
I'll take it each.
Okay, so this is the Vortex Easy Scan. And what it is basically a broken radio. It scans the bands. It goes from either AM or FM. It goes from, and this is particular model is an FM model. It goes from 800 megahertz all the way up to 1600 megahertz. So it'll scan that band in between, and it's literally scanning in milliseconds. Okay, so chances of picking up a radio station are pretty rare. You know, you'll hear snippets of it basically because it's so fast. But this one I actually designed for the dark so that you can operate it, and a lot of people like their ghost box fast. A lot of people like it slow, so I just put 4 different speeds on it for them.
So the theory behind that is that the spirits are using the white noise to speak through.
Exactly.
And the different frequencies as well. And you see a lot, Ghost Adventures is the one, they use the SB7, the smaller,
Right.
what actually looks like a portable radio, and they have the big speaker on there and they have the white noise. But like you said, there are people that use them in such a way, or they have different types of boxes that is so much radio bleed through, where you and I were talking about this, you actually hear the music. You'll hear voice, What you designed is much different than that. It kind of eliminates.
Yep.
Turn it around and show us how easy it is.
Sure. I hope I don't blow the speaker out on the.
Go ahead.
So you just push the button, turn the knob, and it goes.
And then any button will change whatever the speed is, right? That is awesome. Makes it simple.
And again, I designed this stuff to make it easy on everybody, you know, because you have a portal, right? And the portal is just ridiculous hard. I love my portal. Don't get me wrong. I've got some of the
so many knobs and adjustments, and you're doing
exactly.
it in the dark,
And if you don't know what you're doing, it's tough. Even if you do know what you're doing, it's tough to do it in the dark.
Most of us are in the dark with a flashlight. We're reaching.
Exactly.
For
You got the
something.
flashlight in your mouth, and you're trying to
Especially
mess
if you
around.
hear something or something's happening and you want
Right.
in that moment
Exactly.
try to capture a voice or communicate.
Exactly. This is
Boom.
fast.
Yeah.
It's not like you tell the spirits, wait, let me get my stuff together.
And what I like about, again, the one you designed,
John, this is the one that I designed for you.
that is awesome.
Gina and I made this for you.
Nice.
For you,
Look at that.
for you
That
and
is
your
awesome.
team.
Thank you. Look at that. You even put New Jersey on there. And when we were talking about the boxes and you designing them, and you said, "What do you like?" And for me, it's always skulls. You know.
Well, my partner
awesome.
does the designing.
Gina did a
Appreciate
great job.
this. This is
Gina
awesome.
did a really good job on that.
She did.
And your
She
box
did.
is amazingly clean inside. Can we show the inside?
Sure.
We have an event.
Gotta show the inside. The inside is so clean and beautiful.
We have an event
That's
tomorrow
fantastic.
that we're actually going to be using this. To
You
see.
can actually turn that on. It lights up a little bit for you.
That is nice.
It's awesome. Thank you. See, that anybody who's a guest from now on, please bring gifts. But we were talking about, the equipment and how it's used. False positives, you get a lot of those in the field that we're in, especially when it comes to the spirit box. I actually kind of equate that with the Ovilus in a way that you get a lot of bleed through. And I've been in buildings, like you said, some buildings pick up radio frequencies better than others. If you're in a basement, you're not going to get anything. But I've gotten a lot of radio bleed through to where it almost is like, am I getting anything from this? Or is it all just radio.
People always ask them those one-word questions.
Exactly.
They want a yes answer. They want a no answer. They want a name. You got to get a little complex and make them compound words, stuff like that. That's when you know you're actually talking with something.
Yeah, and
you know?
Like you said, you have to test it. You can't just limit it to yes, no, because there may be sounds that come through that people are going to say, that's a yes, that's a no. It's got to be relatable.
Yeah, and you got to keep moving things to validate. You can't just go with one thing. You have to keep pushing to see if you're going to get something that's going to keep coming back. And
right. And I also see people that just carry on a conversation, and they're so robotic, you know, in their questions, and carry on a conversation with the person. Pretend like we're having a conversation right now. You know what I mean? Just, hey, like you're talking to your grandfather, your grandmother, you know?
That's a great point, because you did mention provoking. We don't provoke either.
No, I never provoke.
There are very rare situations where you may want to think about it, but like you said,
it's stupid. It really is stupid.
They were here before us.
I don't want to insult you.
If you were to meet me down the street or on the corner, how would you approach me? Hey, you know, how did you die? Hey, how did you... No, you would...
Exactly.
You would talk to
what if you're talking to a serial killer? You don't even know who you're talking to, and you're trying to provoke this serial killer into doing something. What's he going to do? Choke you? Yeah, exactly.
We did have a team member that provoked, and unfortunately, that person didn't pay the price for it. I paid the price for it.
Yeah.
So that's
sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, that's.
Let's do the last piece of equipment there.
This is a geophone. This measures vibration. Okay, and it's another tool. You get the classic footsteps coming down the stairs, down the hallway.
With a
somebody sitting on a bed. You know, I put this on bed, or they see somebody sitting in a chair or something like that. You know, they're very sensitive.
And what's good about that? Go ahead and demonstrate it.
It has a bunch of different settings on it, but
I see it already. Now, again, when you're talking about the paranormal and investigating the paranormal, what you're talking about is trying to document proof of the paranormal. It's one thing to be downstairs, like you said, and hear the footsteps. It's another to have the camera in that hallway and
and see the lights going off.
Proof of the footsteps, the vibrations. So it's all about documenting things.
Yeah,
and validating it. And the equipment allows us to do that in a lot of different ways. EVPs, recorders, the voices that you capture. But you're right, it's never one piece of equipment or the same piece of equipment. Sometimes you never know.
You just got to keep moving and keep trying different things. Exactly.
Connect to.
Exactly. Every investigation is totally different.
Bob, Ghostly Excursions have events everywhere. Paranormal Convention coming up in July, Penhurst Paracon. You do, where could people go to find information about all of your events, about the equipment that you sell?
VortexGhostGear.com and GhostlyExcursions.com. We also have Ghost Detectives TV.tv.
Find that on YouTube, I imagine, right?
Actually, they took it off because now we have this guy from Hollywood that's actually filming us now.
Okay. Nice.
So they took all that off. So hopefully this is going to go national.
So go to the website. The equipment I highly recommend. I use a lot of Bob's equipment, and it is really spot on. And because he's an investigator, that's who I trust more, as opposed to someone who just sees something, duplicates it, or something like that. I trust someone who makes the equipment. So, Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And joining us. Thank you for watching this episode of New Jersey Paranormal. We'll see you next time.